Yeah, I walk in the room, make the ceiling shake. Gold hoops, fresh fade, got that big boss cake. Never waited on a hand, I'm in my own lane. Told them put some respect when they say my name.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of They Tried It. My name is Lindiwe Davis, aka the Couch Coach. And by now, you should know what we are doing with They Tried It, the platform. I hope that you've had time to subscribe. Hit the little button there. It may pop up on your screen. My podcast editor is wonderful. But what we're doing today, okay, we have a wonderful guest, and I hope that you all are continuing to watch every single episode of this podcast, because we're not just out here willy-nillying random words and statements. No. We're telling the stories of amazing women with special guests and with special spotlights on Black and Brown women as well. We're talking about adversity challenges, what steps they took to work through those things, and how they are thriving now. So with that, never miss an episode. Check out all of the podcast platforms, Spotify, Apple, etc., and you'll be in the community of wonderfulness, as we call ourselves. Okay? And with that, we've got a special guest today. The lovely, lovely Pamala. Introduce yourself.
Hello. Nice to meet you, world. My name is Pamala Buzick Kim, and I'm the founder and creator of Mavenverse. We are a marketing firm that focuses on high trust communities, so book clubs, run clubs, any kind of interest you can imagine club. Yeah. And we really sort of are the bridge to brand opportunities, because we feel that the real influence lies within communities, and communities are the nights and weekends of belonging and joy and recommendation. And it's where people naturally will retreat and find that joy and belonging. And so we want to make sure that those people get paid, and make sure that when we're doing it, we're not killing the vibe. And so that's sort of where we're at right now. I come from a really long marketing and advertising history. And so and I also have built many communities over my lifetime. And it's sort of been, to me, the saving grace of growing up and also who I am today.
Absolutely. I think with marketing, when people hear the word, of course, I imagine they automatically assume that you are a storyteller to a certain extent, or understanding how to tell the stories of people to invite them into communities. Yeah. Is that kind of
Yeah, I would say that I've always thought of myself as the bridge between art and commerce, because it's just what I've done for my career. In my past, I've been a talent agent for people behind the camera. I've run a nonprofit that focus on representation behind the camera. I've always sort of understood that art needs to get paid, and commerce will fall flat if there's no soul or heart in it, and staying up with culture. So for me, I've always sort of been the bridge and the infrastructure. I don't necessarily find myself to be an artist. I've never necessarily dreamed of being an artist. And I think because of that, I have such mad respect for artists because of what they do, and nothing that they do is essentially guaranteed. And because they can tell those stories, not only their story, but other stories. And right now, our visual medium is the fastest way to bring about change in our world, because it goes beyond words and languages. So kids around the world, or people around the world, can watch the same story and get something from it, even if they didn't necessarily understand the words of it.
Absolutely. That's a great call out in terms of putting imagery out there and making sure that it's true to said person or said situation or said ecosystem, so that people can tether themselves to that story, to that content. Talk to us a little bit about your start. Where did you go to school, and how did said going to school or not going to school get you to where you are now?
Yeah, so I grew up in the Valley in Los Angeles, and grew up on hard times, and didn't know a lot of what was out there and a lot of opportunity. And I was very fortunate to have a couple of parents and teachers looking out for me and sort of seeing the things that I was attracted to. So I was able to go to the Cal Arts, which is the California Institute of the Arts. It's up here in Santa Clarita. It's where all the animators come from. But I was very fortunate to go to that school, and I was in the only major in that school that was not an actual artistry. So I did producing and management. And that was sort of what set me up for understanding why I wanted to be that bridge between art and commerce, and how I could help make that happen. And then I went into commercials, and I was an agent for commercial talent. So directors, editors, composers for branded and commercials and all that good stuff. And I did that for a really long time. I even had my own company doing it,
Wow.
which was great and awesome. And, we made a lot of amazing pieces of content, and a lot of it's commercials, but also at some point we had to decide if this was sort of the world and future we wanted to continue in. And so I'll stop there, but I've been pretty good at figuring out how to pivot.
I love the word pivot. It is one of my favorite things to remind people of that, and even myself, right? We are in trying times. And so a lot of requirement of a human at this point, if you weren't pivoting before or understood what that meant, just from your job, your family life, your friendship group life, etc., financially, we are all at a place where we need to understand how pivoting can actually benefit us.
Yes,
And so I'm glad that
absolutely.
you tagged that. That's a great call out.
Yeah. And I think, they say that on average, you're going to change careers 7 times. And I
Mhm.
would say in this particular environment, in this realm, that's certainly going to be true. And
Mhm.
I think it's really, like you said, it's really just understanding how to tell that story and what
Yeah.
does that look like? Because to me, pivoting is a strength. It
Yeah.
also means that you're multiversed. It means that you're
Absolutely.
interested in other things. It means that you understand how to take your core skill set and
Mhm.
move it into another industry or into another office or into a new dynamic. So for me, pivoting has never been a negative. I think it's one of the most positive things you can do. And it keeps you energized and it keeps you fresh on your feet.
Absolutely. I love the fresh on the feet tag because that's another learning piece of wisdom that we can put in our toolbox and
Yeah.
utilize. And I want to sync that up with the fact that you used to be a talent agent,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, absolutely. I loved doing that job. I loved working with talent. And then at some point I just didn't.
She said I didn't do that.
Yeah, I think, at some point, especially I say on the commercial side as an agent, you bring in the work and then those artists or those production companies or companies can choose to do the work. And then
Yeah.
at the end of the year, you're graded on the work that you brought in. But if the company that you brought the work in for doesn't want to do any of the jobs, and so you're not
Mhm.
making the money, and then they're saying, where are the jobs? And you're like, wait a minute, I brought in over 255 jobs. You
Yeah.
only said yes to 17 of them. Is that
Mm.
my responsibility or is that your responsibility? So
Yeah.
becomes this element of just sort of like you're bringing work for the worker bees that don't want to work in a way. And I think I pivoted from that because I felt like I wasn't making enough of a difference. I was so low on the totem pole of the overall process
Mhm.
that I wanted more ownership and more control.
Yeah.
If I was going to be doing all of this work and putting in all of this effort and energy to bring in work, I wanted to be the one that was either giving more of an opinion or giving more advice on whether they should be taking that work. But my job was just the middleman to bring in work and pass it off. And then they decide if they want to do it or not.
Yeah.
And so that's sort of the other thing that I sort of realized was I was getting work for a lot of the same type of person. They
Mm.
were great. They're great humans and they're extremely talented. But I would say a
Yeah.
majority of them, if they saw me in the public, they wouldn't be able to pick me up out of a lineup. And I made
Yeah.
them millions of dollars.
Mm.
So that was also something where I was like, I'm so far away from the actual process. I'm not really working that closely with the talent, and I'm getting the same work for the same white dudes.
Yeah.
And in our industry where we're not seeing enough female directors, we were not seeing enough representation behind the camera. And
Mhm.
so for me, that started to say, well, I'd spend extra time trying to get other talent, some more of my other talent work, but it just wasn't hitting. And so I saw in the process of how you decide talent gets work, there
Mhm.
was already barriers and blockades. And so
Yeah.
that really started me on this kind of questioning of the conversation about representation. What does it look
Yeah.
like in the commercial industry? Where am I in it? How am I contributing to this? And so that's sort of when I decided to close my own agency with
Mm.
my business partner so that we could go and try new things, but also
Yeah.
so that I could decide where in that process I really wanted to sit and be
Mm.
responsible and accountable to.
I like this response around being responsible, being accountable, but also recognizing what you were bringing to the table and how much
Hmm.
of that pie you weren't getting, which is
Hmm.
a big conversation. It's always going to be a big conversation because systems are rigged in and of
Yeah,
itself. Um,
absolutely.
And the talent, I was reminded of this again recently, something that stays in the back of my mind, that you're always going to be the person that's doing the work of the company, but the
Mhm.
company is
Yep.
100% benefiting from that.
Yep.
You, on the other hand, are working just enough for the pay before you decide that you want to raise your voice or you want to riot, or, and
Mhm.
not that I'm saying that a person should go
Yeah.
in and kick a door open. No, but that's
But
how
sometimes you need to.
we can dig into that. But for the most part, we understand, just as people who've been working for a long time in and of itself, that a lot of times companies are obviously benefiting from all of the work
Yeah.
that they're getting from you. So,
Yeah. And like you said, the system, and at some point you have to decide, how are you contributing to the system?
absolutely.
And I
How are
think
you
that was a big
contributing?
thing. Yeah. How are you contributing? And are you going to continue to contribute?
Mm,
And, um, I think those are big questions that we even have today around every simple everyday things that we're doing. And so
yeah.
I think for you, and, I also I had a moment and an incident where I had, a woman who was running a production company, owns a production company, and she's an incredibly smart woman. She should be running a Fortune 500 company, not a production company in the commercial business. And unfortunately, as she was somebody who was like, oh, I'm for women, I'm always for women, and that whole world, that's great. But what happened was she was at my wedding,
Mhm.
of course, which was, in itself great. She met another one of my friends who does what I do.
Yeah.
And then as I went on my honeymoon, the boss person had approached my business partner and basically started to try to get my business partner to leave our partnership
Oh,
and to
wow.
just come work for her directly.
Mm.
Yeah, I know. I'm skipping your structure and your process. I'm sorry. I'm just jumping into the tea because it's
Jump
just like,
into it.
that's, I think, also what made me go, what is this? What is this system and what is going on? And so my entire honeymoon, my business partner did not call me about this. She just took
Mm.
it. She took several calls a day from this woman, several calls from a business coach to coach her through breaking up our partnership. All sorts. And then when I got back from my honeymoon, my business partner sat across from me and just broke down and started crying,
Oh, wow.
because she had been holding all of this inside of her and didn't want to
Mhm.
tell me because she didn't want to ruin my honeymoon. But
Right.
she had been basically, being saddled with all of this pressure. And I think for me, you know, having somebody who had been at my wedding, who I'd known for years, who I'd worked in partnership with for years with my own
Yeah.
business, there was so much I did appreciate and was due to that woman. But for her to do that, especially in those circumstances,
Yeah.
I felt was like unforgivable.
Mhm.
And thankfully we were two separate businesses. And thankfully I have a best Judy, and my business partner is also my best friend. And
Mm.
that relationship is so strong and so tight. And that probably made us even stronger. But what if she had weaker points? What if she
Yeah.
had a moment of doubt? What if those things had come through? And for me, it's just like, again, what is this process and what is the system that we're contributing to that
Mhm.
would think that woman could do that? And why did she do it? And she did it
Mhm.
mainly because I was one of the only people who would tell her no.
Mm.
Every time she would hire men for her company, they were toxic and
Yeah.
terrible
Yeah.
and bring the company down. And then she would hire all these really strikingly smart, ambitious, strong women around her. But one by one, they would fade away because they would either realize the writing on the wall, or she would pit them against each other, or, something would happen and they would all kind of leave. And I was just one of those few people who wasn't as scared of her and was
Yeah.
like, I don't agree with you on on this decision or that decision, but ultimately it's your business, but your business affects my business. So
Mm.
I'm just telling you, signing that particular talent or hiring that particular person, I don't have a good feeling about, and here's why. And I think she just really did not like the no, and that I was one of the only people telling her no. And so I
Mhm.
think for her going after my business partner, who she thought was more flexible,
Yeah.
which hilariously in the background, my business partner is not that flexible. Um, I used to always say, like, she's the brain, I'm the brawn, because I'm
Mhm.
not like, I don't worry about I don't worry about conflict.
Yeah.
So like if we're going to be in a disagreement, I'm happy to have the disagreement with you and go through that. So sometimes I would be the person who would be the person saying no, but ultimately it was both of us making that decision to tell that person no.
Yeah.
But it could have gone like 500 different ways. And after that experience, it sort of just soiled talent management for me, talent agenting for me. And I was kind of okay with it at that point.
I wonder, listening to the story, there's so many nuances and layers that I'm thinking through. I want to start with the layer around this person was at your wedding. We'll call her Carol Ann. Okay?
Yeah.
Carol Ann was at the wedding, having a great time, and said, you know what? I see this as an opportunity to network and try to consume something that doesn't actually belong to me.
Yeah.
Your days as a talent agent, what did you learn about this behavior? And had you seen this type of behavior before in this way?
It made me sad because I think we have a lot of, oddly in my personal career, I've actually had more women come after me than men.
Yeah.
I've actually had more women put me down or say something negative to me or, play the role, get in line, all of those sorts of things. I've actually had it come more from women who in their minds were mentoring me.
Yeah.
And I think it just comes from a certain generational thing. It comes from a certain, like they had to be one of the boys. So they understand behavior in a certain way. And it's super interesting. I would say that she did that because at the end of the day, she's also a business owner and she was trying to look out for her business and felt that I was probably a thorn in the side and that my business partner would make it easier for her to be on her payroll than our own payroll. And so I think she just was, an ambitiously, strong-headed, bullheaded woman that thought she was making a good decision in doing this and just wasn't. And it was just very uncouth. And, it made me more sad than anything because I do think she actually could be really brilliant if she actually stuck to the words that she says.
Yeah.
And she actually practiced those. I think things would be much better for her.
Absolutely. I mean, this type of behavior that kind of seeds, as you said, she's able to attract sharp people, smart people, ambitious people, but one by one, they delegated themselves out of her ecosystem because of the behavior she might have been exhibiting, which is unfortunate, right?
Yeah.
Because to your point, when you're in a position of power and you've got button pushing power, that's what I call it, when you can just push a button and make a change.
Yeah.
A lot of times we find that these folks have consumed their own hardship, aka the things that might have happened to them or the things that they had to showcase and endure. But I think that that's the disconnect sometimes. And you brought this up, a great point around sometimes if you're just slightly part of a generation, you had just stepped out from a generation and maybe you're just a few years removed from the generation before you.
Yeah.
There's the old ways of being and quote unquote the new ways of being, because again, we are not in a place where you're going to talk crazy to us in workspaces. Like that's not. Are there people that still put up with that type of stuff? Yes, but that's because they may not have a support group. They may not know it's okay to speak up, etc. But at the end of the day, for where my generation, aka our generation, is at this point, and I would say you and I are, what do they call us, zillennials?
Oh yeah,
like, are y'all just making stuff up? Is that,
yeah.
So
we're like the in between. Yeah,
we're like the in between.
We're like the sandwich.
There you go. The elder millennials, as they say. We're at a place where we saw that our parents worked really hard. A lot of times worked in spaces where the walls were some sort of weird salmon color. And they stayed there for decades and years and etc. But with us, it's more of I like the dedication, I do. However, there's a part of us where we also know that a lot of these systems are in place and we're not going to go along just to get along.
Yeah.
And so back to this individual's behavior, it's as if it didn't occur to her, and I don't know what her work experience was, but it never even occurred to her to say, oh, I have all these wonderful people around me. Why don't I bring them in? Because as my mother used to say, you never know how a person can change your life.
Yeah.
And so your job is not to be rude to them or disrespect them. And also, you never know if you have to report to a person that you used to work with years and years
Yeah,
earlier.
absolutely.
You never know how they're going to impact you, your business, or any of those things. So
Yeah.
I'm quite curious as to why it is that her behavior was set up this way. And how did your business partner, this is the question, how did your business partner work through the ramifications of that? Like really trying to understand her participation in all of it, because that's also another part
Yeah.
of it, you know?
Yeah. I
And it's
mean,
not as if she was trying to, screw you or anything like that.
yeah, I think it was it was very traumatizing for her because
Yeah.
it was essentially 2 weeks of, again, dozens of phone calls a day practically.
Yeah.
And I think, what we had done promptly afterwards is we essentially had quit their business
Yeah.
because we were independent. So we could basically end our contract with them.
Mm.
And what happened after that is that then she hired the woman that she met at my wedding to replace us.
Oh, wow.
Which is fine. Well, because we were quitting the contracts, we're closing out the contract. You can hire whoever you want. But it was interesting that she chose the person that she met at my wedding,
Yeah.
of which then she told that person that in the transition period that we would be working for my friend.
Mm.
And so when my friend was like, okay, do this, do this, do this. And we were like, absolutely not. We don't work for you. And this is also not part of our transition period. Like in our transition contract, that's not part of it. And so
Right.
we ended up not being friends because
Mhm.
I also felt that that person should have come and told me that they were going to basically like, hey, I'm going to take this job. I know I met them at the wedding. I know things didn't end well, blah, blah, blah. There was just no sort of conversation about it.
Yeah.
And it was just suddenly showing up one day as a new employee telling us what to do. And I was like, that's not going to work. That's not working here either. So
Doesn't that kind of connect back though to what you were saying, that
yeah,
there's a responsibility and accountability, and it doesn't sound like there was any kind of transition of those two things that could have
totally.
been easily handed off, quite honestly.
And just talked about, like, we all
Yeah.
know each other. It's a small, ultimately it's a small business. And I think back about, my partner being so steadfast and carrying all that weight while I was away, and
Mhm.
then us together making those decisions for our business, but also making decisions for our partnership, and
Yeah.
also making decisions as women in business and friendship. And so I
Yeah.
think, as much as I've said, like, I've mainly had more women come after me than men, I've
Mhm.
also had incredibly strong women in partnership with me that I would not have been able to make it through those different situations with, that in mind, if I also hadn't had strong women relationships too. And
Mhm.
that's what I'm wondering, like in what you're saying, I'm wondering if these people haven't had strong women relationships
This is
and they just know to pit us
interesting.
against each other,
Yes,
because
this
that's
is
what the patriarchy does.
Oh gosh, it's such a good point. It's such a good point. I keep thinking about how, when I got out of high school and then went through college and all of the things that happened, and I
Mhm.
fast forward to now.
Yeah.
Okay. I have female friendships that have lasted for 30 years, 32 years,
Beautiful.
25 years, etc.
Mhm.
Right? I'm definitely that person. I
Yeah.
believe in those relationships. So to your point, it is very daunting
Mhm. Yeah.
when you're in a workspace and you see another woman and you're like, oh my God, that's somebody who's doing her thing.
Mhm.
And why wouldn't we want to do and come together and figure out how we can do something together? But to your point, I don't think that a lot of times people have, either they don't have access or
Mhm.
they don't have training. The
Yeah.
training of how to, have female relationships or just interactions comes from the time that you're younger all the way up to when you're in professional spaces. I
Mhm.
understand
Yeah.
that maybe that's not everyone's personality. It could be access. It could be a lot of different things.
Yeah.
But I think by the time you hit corporate America, the hope is that you would have had one or two women
Yeah.
who kept it real with you, who were good
Mhm.
towards you, and could actually show you without telling you, this is how you host a friendship, right?
Right.
This is how you host a work relationship. But
Yep.
I've had a similar experience to you where, people that have caused harm to me in workspaces. Were there a couple of dudes? Sure. That's what I call them, a
Sure.
couple of
Yeah.
dudes. Because that's just what it is. But it was always daunting when it was women, especially women that typically like to be on stage saying things like, oh, I am caring about equality and women's rights.
Yeah.
And oh, I'm a fighter. And I'm looking at when you see the person in real time,
yeah.
I'm like, this lady is putting on she's about to get a golden glove.
Yeah, totally.
This is an excellent performance because this version of this person is not real.
Yeah.
And that right there, and I hate to harp on it, but it's so true. It's like, did you not have access to these opportunities to be friends with someone? Do you not understand that there is opportunity to exchange stories? No one said we have to come into work and, I'm going to see you at work, Pamala, and I'm like, hey, girl, let me braid your hair. No, I'm not saying that. I'm just
totally
saying, is there a way for us to respect each other in and of itself? And did that experience change how you show respect towards other women?
Yeah, I think I'm a lot more wary of like interviews or conversations where people are like, I'm so for women and da 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 da. And I'm like, well, just show me. Don't tell me. I'm just like, I'm just kind of like, so I'm a little bit more weary on that front.
Yeah.
I would also say like it made me much more clear about scarcity mindset versus abundance. Because to me, a lot of what she was doing was she's just like pitting us all against each other. Like we're in some like secession, or industry or some kind of crazy scenario. And it's just like, you're acting from such a scarcity mindset. What would actually happen if you just kind of came from an abundance mindset, or you came to something as like, I always try to come into every conversation. And even if the situation sucks or somebody fucked up or whatever it might be, I was trying to like, okay, they probably tried to do that with their best of intentions. So I'm just going to come to the conversation knowing that they came to that with the best of their intentions, even though it went super sideways.
Yeah.
I think if I approach that part of the conversation or that instant, just starting from that place versus starting from they're evil, they did this on purpose, they're out to get me, they're not working for my business.
Yeah.
I was like, because it just starts the conversation off differently.
Yeah.
And then and then eventually you find out, and you can tell from when you start from that place, then you'll know eventually, was it intentional that they did that? Or are they not skilled in that arena, which is why it ended up happening?
Absolutely.
Or is it a leadership element? Did I not give them Did I not give them enough context? Did I not set them up right? So I think versus coming from is like, oh, they're trying to get me. I think there's this whole like close, like victim shit that happens. It's like, oh, everyone's trying to get me. I've got to make sure I set it up to where, they get somebody else before they get me.
Yeah. Now, see that right there, we're veering into a territory that is a conversation that a lot of us have just as women, right? And as we're, shifting throughout our careers, I always remind myself and others that everybody is not a bad person.
Right.
Everybody's not a racist.
Right.
Many of them are, but not everybody is a racist.
And many of them don't even know it.
They don't even. You better speak the truth and shame the devil. It's so true. Like starting from that place of grace that, let me make sure I understand this person. And I think having that security in yourself, that's the other part about it. I talk about this throughout a lot of episodes where it's like, what is the self-awareness in myself that will allow me to better understand people? Because in life, that's what it is. If you understand who you are, like truly, and you have emotional intelligence and you are emotionally regulating and you are continuing to grow in those spaces, it makes it easier to clearly see other people and their intentions. And it's just what it is.
Totally agree.
In and of itself. And I think that, this piece around, people not intentionally wanting to hurt you, that's such a big part of it. When you sit down and have a conversation with a person, you start to realize, oh, there's something else going on that has nothing to do.
Yeah. It's almost never about you.
Right.
It's almost, what I mean? Like, I'm always
Right.
I'm like, okay, this probably has nothing to do with me. Oops.
Oh
I'm like,
man.
this
And
has
we take
nothing
it
to do with
on.
me.
We
Yeah.
take that on
Yeah,
as a
we do.
burden. Oh
Hmm.
my goodness gracious. Where where do you stand now? Like, because I imagine this is not the only experience that you've ever had, right? When it comes to shenanigans, as I call them.
Yeah.
But how do you handle and what do you want people to know about handling these types of situations, whether they are nefarious,
Yeah.
intentional, unintentional? Let's start with when you find out that something is very much intentional.
Yeah.
Um, and if it's so shocking to you that it almost paralyzes you, like what is something
Yeah.
or an approach you like to take?
Well, I have a philosophy for myself. So every year I reset the number of fucks I have.
Mm,
So I only
okay.
have 10 fucks to, am I allowed to say this?
Yeah, you
Okay.
can say
Oh,
whatever you
yeah.
want.
I only have 10 fucks to give a year. It's like mentally in my head, but sometimes I'll write it down. But I have
Hmm.
like 10 fucks to give for the year. And I'm going
I
to
feel that.
assume, I'm
Yeah.
going to guess, and I'm going to save 6 of them for
Hmm.
family and friends.
Okay.
You know what I
Okay.
mean? Like, cause that's
Yeah.
priority. And so
Hmm.
then that really only leaves me with 3 or 4 for the rest of life. And
Hmm.
so, especially for like work stuff. And so when something happens and I'm like having that reaction, that visceral reaction of what the fuck,
Hmm.
I'm like, okay, is this going to be one of those fucks that I give?
Right.
And it immediately brings me down. It immediately like calms me down
I love
because
that.
I'm like, it doesn't mean just because I don't give it one of those that I have, it doesn't mean I don't care. It doesn't mean I don't want it done right. It doesn't mean that I can be flippant or I'm relaxed about the like how something is delivered or the outcome of it. It just means it's gonna like it's not gonna raise my temperature and it's
Okay.
gonna like center me really quickly because it's a little bit like water off a duck's back. I mean,
Yeah.
the good news about being in marketing and advertising is we're not neurosurgeons. We're not going in and
Mm.
saving lives every day. So
Yeah.
it just all of a sudden you can be really grounded and okay. And if you start from there and go, okay, this is not one of them, that this does not warrant getting one of those that I have to give for the year.
Yeah.
And so then and then going back in and saying, okay, they probably did this with their best of intentions, and then starting the conversation that way. Now,
Mhm.
when you do find out that they've lied to you, it was
Mhm.
intentional,
Mhm.
um, I'm pretty quick about it. I'm pretty like emotionless about it. I'm very like, okay, here's, if I'm the person that they're like directly reporting to, then, this is like, hey, this is a warning.
Yeah.
This is going straight into like the HR side of it. This is a warning. And then secondly, I'll sort of go back into, I'm very aware, I just kind of am like very nonplussed about it. I'm like, I'm very aware
Yeah.
of what you did, and I'm
Mhm.
not interested in participating in this.
Yeah.
And I don't have the energy for it. And I actually almost give it, because I tend to find that people who do things like that intentionally are trying to cross you, is that they
Yeah.
want you to act and they want you to have the drama because they want to see you be hurt or be upset or be screwed over. And so it's just like, I get really kind of like, all right, you did you. You tried to do me. You tried to do me, but I don't I have a long life to lead. I've lived a good life. This isn't gonna be the thing that I
Yeah.
give a fuck about. But
Right.
it does but also you did screw up.
Yeah.
So we got to
Yeah.
still approach this, but I'm not going to give them that emotional breath because I feel like that's a lot of what they're trying to get.
That's a great call out too, that when you find out that someone is intentionally
Mhm.
on
Mhm.
purpose,
Yeah.
not only trying to harm you, but to trying to make a fool out of you or trying to put you
Mhm.
on stage so that they can cause more harm or trying to stop you from that promotion or trying to stop you from having more scope of work, whatever
Yeah.
that thing is. That's the sad part, right? And
Yeah.
to your point, I love that you said you only give yourself, and this is just like a great little method. You don't have to, for those watching, you can call it fucks to
Yeah.
give.
Yeah.
You can call
Exactly.
it bowls of fruit. It's up to
Yeah.
you, whatever is your
Yeah,
thing.
whatever
Okay.
it is. Yeah.
But I love that you said that you keep a meter for yourself so that you can keep yourself measured. Because again,
Mhm.
it is very easy to take the emotion of the harm that you are consuming or that you are feeling because of someone else.
Mhm.
And that
Yeah.
turns into this much larger thing. And now you are paralyzed
Yeah.
because of it, right?
And absolutely. And also I'm long game petty. Um, so So, like, you may not get a reaction on me, but does not mean I forgot. And in 10 years, I will
Not 10
wait.
years from now.
I will wait 10 years if I have to. Like, you are never going to know. And then if something happens where like your shit fell down because you kept up this behavior,
Yeah.
or I was able to prove you wrong, that I was able to get that thing accomplished.
Mhm.
I'm long game petty and I'm
Mhm.
strategic as fuck. I will absolutely just sit on something until it's like the moment to be carried out. And who knows, you may never even know that I
Mhm.
finally did it or I got it done, but I
Mhm.
know. And so it's just like one of those things where I'm like, I don't need, like, it's like what's the saying? Like, you're trying to fight the battle, but win the war or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, I'm
Yeah.
going for the long game. Like,
Yeah.
all of us are in this for the long game. And like,
Mhm.
my goals are way different than what you think that they are, what you think you can bring me down by. And
Mhm.
so I'm like, I don't have time for this today. I don't have time
Yeah.
for your BS this week. We're good. I know who you are now. Like, I
Yeah.
know who you are. You know, I had a friend break up with me a few years ago, and all of our other friends are like, don't you want to be friends with them again? I'm like, no, I know who they are now. I'm good. I wish them well. I
The
don't have
discovery is
any,
here.
yeah,
Mhm.
I don't have any foul towards them. I don't even have feelings towards it because I know who they are now. And I'm no longer, it's like they're not for me. They're not my
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
So it doesn't weigh on me anymore.
I love that too, because it's the energy of taking care of yourself is super important,
Mhm.
and making sure that you take back some of those things for yourself
Yeah.
because you need them. You need
Yeah.
the energy to get up and do your job and enjoy your life and then
Mhm.
take care of yourself. And the more you give away to other people, it
Yeah.
impacts you even further. Okay.
Yeah. Absolutely. I
And
mean,
having the memory.
yeah. And that's also why you have your best Judies. Like, I can go out that night and have a bitch session about what happened or what that is or what they tried to do to me or how they sunk me or whatever it is. And I can have that conversation with my best friends and my close circles and my husband and everything. And then I
Yeah.
can leave it and then I can let it go. Like, I place
Yes.
it out into the world. I sort of think of it as sort of like lava inside of you. You get the lava out. It's no longer spinning. You're no longer spinning out. And then you
Mhm.
just have to move on because, again, it's like, what are your long-term goals? What are you trying to do?
What are
People
you
are,
trying to do?
yeah, there's always going to be somebody who sucks. There's always going to be somebody who sucks. So
Yeah.
it's just a matter of like, don't let them get to you.
Don't let them get to you and define you
Mm-hmm.
or your movements.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things I've been consuming from a lot of these conversations of people, of the wonderful women I've been interviewing, that
Yeah.
everybody approaches adversity and challenges so differently, but a lot of the straight through meaning through those conversations have been, you've got to get right back up no
Mm-hmm.
matter what, right?
Mm-hmm.
One of my mantras, and it's something that I'm really leaning heavily in towards these
Ooh,
past
tell
2 to 3
me.
years, is you have to stay the course.
Yes.
Even with the shenanigans, even when there's somebody who pops out of nowhere and they're like, "Oh, I'm here to cause you harm," and I'm like, "No, no, 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 no."
Mm-mm.
You need to move on over here. That's what you
Yeah.
need. You need to
Yeah.
slide over here. You're saying something crazy. I'll probably respond, and then I'm gonna keep it moving, right? The
Yeah.
moment that you want to try to fuck with something else, aka no promotion, no this, no
Yeah.
that, especially when you're working under the confines of corporate America,
Mm-hmm.
that's something different. Then you need to take steps, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And those steps are meant to secure you and secure your pivot, because
Yeah.
that's what you are owed, especially when shenanigans are happening, aka racism, retaliation, bullying, etc. Right?
Yeah.
But I do like this concentration point of, you're not going to get too much else from me, okay?
Yeah.
Because my life is still moving, which I think is such a great point, Pamala, like reminding people that you can't stop me.
Yeah. Oh, and it just doesn't give them the satisfaction. You can see it. You can feel it from them. Like, they're not getting the emotion and the drama out of you that they want.
Yeah.
And so it's like, they're not, because they're just trying to needle you. They're just trying to needle you and needle you and needle you. And they're just not getting the reaction that they want. It's so like thoroughly disappointing for them, which is so delicious.
That's my favorite. So savory and delicious.
Yeah. I'm like, I'm like, I'm over here eating my prime rib.
Put it on.
Yeah. I'm like, on dessert, what are you doing?
What would you say to, and I'm going to take it back to women, right?
Mm-hmm.
What would you say to women that are not practiced in understanding like workplace relationships with other women and even friendships?
Yeah.
What is one thing that you feel like you've learned from having good friendships, good female connections and network? What's one or two things that you would want for them to know and how to maintain those relationships?
I mean, I think this is a very important topic, not just for women, but for men too, because we are in the loneliness epidemic right now because of our phones. So I think also because of the joblessness and the way that now that all these lower end jobs are going to go away because of AI, all of these sort of scares, but it's because it's a practice. It's like, if you are not in an office or you are not in an area that has a lot of people, like, you don't get the time to get those practices in. And so for me, I would say like, what's important is to put yourself in challenging situations, put yourself in outside the box. So like for me, I moved to New York City when I was 25. You know, moving to a city like New York is going to tell you who you are. It's going to make you who you are, or bring out, you know, or any other sort of major city. Or if you're in a major city, going to somewhere where it's very quiet and rural, well, also you'll learn a lot about yourself. And I would say practice. Like, and if you don't go into an office, go volunteer. Go be in an interest group, go be in a book club, go be in a, you know, hobby group. We have a trash pickup club here. Like there are so many ways to be around people and meet people and to sort of understand who your relationships are. And it's going to take practice. So you got to put yourself into those places to meet people.
Absolutely.
And you have to like challenge, you have to constantly be challenging yourself. You have to put yourself in places where it's like, if you thought if you thought you could accomplish it for this life in this lifetime, you might be thinking too small.
You better say that.
Yeah. So it's like, okay, I'm not asking you to make everything a challenge that's impossible to reach, but your bigger picture should be something that contributes to society that is so big that maybe doesn't get solved in your lifetime. But if you look at the smaller elements of your responsibility to that system or to that society and break down what you can be doing for it, those are things that you can be accomplishing and working on. And a lot of that has to do with being in village, being in community. And that is so important right now as everyone's faces are in their phones and feeling like they can't live their true selves. Like, again, I think the only reason why I am who I am is because I had community growing up, because I didn't want to go home. Home was not a good place for me. And so I truly think my life was saved because I was in softball, I was in camping, I was in band, I was in theater, I was, you know, whatever the heck it was, to kind of give me practice in those relationships in those realms.
Which is an excellent point, that by putting yourself into spaces that may be not your norm, right? Hence joining those ERGs in workspaces. To your point, joining run clubs externally, and maybe some of those people from your workspace happen to be in those as well. But having that opportunity to see other people's way of being will also show you how to approach people. It'll show you how people like to talk about certain things, but will allow you to shape your perspective in a sharper way. It'll also open up your education and cultural competency, which is part of the problem of why it is that people don't know how to talk to people, especially in workspaces. They haven't been around anybody else except for the people in their own little bubble. You know, you got to get out that bubble. And start talking to people. Go to the bubble tea shop down the street that you've never been to because well, you don't know if you like bubble tea. Okay, well then walk in there and see if you don't meet somebody interesting. Okay, go to
travel.
And travel. Oh.
You'll never realize how small and tiny you are until you travel. And like just
travel.
Until you travel, and just breathing in so many different other amazing, beautiful cultures and worlds. And and travel doesn't necessarily have to be far, and travel doesn't necessarily have to be a passport.
No, not at all. And in fact, some of the loveliest people that you're going to meet outside of that little bubble that you're in, whether it's, you know, because you joined a club or you went to some school reunion, you never knew this person was even at this school, etc. There's so many opportunities to, when your job is hosting something that's not in the location that you're used to, why not go check it out?
Yeah.
You might meet somebody interesting. I have met an extreme amount of interesting people as a direct result of someone sending me a quick message. Hey, Lynn, this thing is going on that's celebrating X, Y, and Z. Okay, girl, let me get myself together and let me see, if I can get down there. I might get, my social battery is probably 90 minutes strong and then I'm out, right? Yeah. Or whatever it is. But I think the point here is developing relationships using yourself as the case study for what you need to learn so that you know how to treat people, can avoid these situations that allow you to think that you should go to somebody's wedding and try to confiscate their business partner behind their back.
Yeah, totally. It's so crazy. I was like, literally, when I was trying to like prep for this, because I was like trying to think of different incidences, and literally I called she's still my best friend today, even though we're not business partners anymore. And I was like, what would be the one? And she's like, what do you mean, what would be the one? She's like, you know which one's the one? That was like, yeah, you're right. That is the one.
Caroline tried to swoop in. Okay.
I was like, okay, that's the one for both of us. Got it. Yes.
Like a pterodactyl.
Just because I had just like put it out, put it outside my brain and put it outside my head. It was like years ago. So I was just like, she's like, no, that's the one. That's still the one. But get out there, travel, travel within the 5-mile radius. You never know what's there. And can I say, you might never know who sits down next to you on the couch.
Oh man. You don't never
ting,
know.
ting, 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 ting.
And closing things out, you've shared a lot of different gems and light bulbs here, particularly around managing the relationships you can manage, right? Because that's what you did with your best friend who was your business partner, and you all made it through that situation. Yeah. Understanding that every grievance is not necessarily intentional, right? Knowing what your no fucks system is, right? Whether you call it that or you call it something else.
Yeah.
Knowing how your energy is being utilized when shenanigans pop up, when these problematic behaviors come up to your doorstep. And then last but not least, putting yourself out there into ecosystems you're not used to. These were such delicious gems. I want to close out with a mantra. Something that kind of wakes your spirit up on a daily basis. What's one that comes to mind that has followed you your entire life?
I have two. One is a really long quote from Roosevelt, which is basically like, at least I got, and something to the effect of, at least I got in the ring and I tried, which is what the majority of most people don't. So that I think is like something I definitely think about all the time, because I always end up choosing the hard things, which is exhausting, but it's just my way of being. And then I would say, but a very simple one, and it's from Dr. Seuss, is those who matter don't mind, and those who mind don't matter. And I think that carries across anything in your life, work, personal. If you're so worried about like, what is someone going to think? What is it? If they mind, then they don't matter, because the ones who matter don't mind. Yeah,
that's right. That's right. And with that, we're going to put that in our pocket. We're going to wrap it up. I appreciate you so much. You and I can continue. We're always going to continue the conversation.
You're a very kindred spirit.
Thank you.
I appreciate you for that.
I feel the same about you when we first started talking. But I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Continue to support the podcast. Again, please go ahead and subscribe on all, whether it's Spotify, Apple, it's all there. All of the podcast platforms. Please jump on in there. And then, of course, on YouTube, you can find the visual format of this as well. My name is Lindiwe Davis. I am here doing the best I can with the work that means so much to me. And this is just one project. You haven't even seen everything that's happening. Thank you so much. And I hope all of you enjoy the week that you're having. Cheers.
No cosign needed, I've been self-made. If you cut from my cloth, that's designer grade. Level up every year, new